everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Why I Love Flagler County, your local podcast spotlighting local businesses and local residents on what they love about being a part of Flagler County. So today, I'm super excited to have my guest Stacy with us today. Stacy, thank you so much for the time today. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Of course. Well, Stacy and I met through our local BNI, our networking group here in town. And she's given a presentation there. And then we also connected last week and she was sharing her story. And I was like, I'm just so excited to learn more and to kind of showcase a little bit on the very cool beginning, and in my opinion, of her practice and how she's doing what she's doing in a very you know, I would say maybe delicate field, perhaps. So Stacey, why don't you kick us off and tell us a little bit about your journey coming here to Flagler, being in Flagler?
Okay, so I've been with my husband since 1996, and we had been living up in Nassau County in Yulee. And at the time, my job was traveling around the country. I worked for a firm in the Midwest, so we would go around the country. I'd find out Thursday, I'd hop on a plane Monday. So my job was obviously easy to live anywhere. My husband had the opportunity to come down to a new position in Ormond. So when he got the call on a Thursday, the future boss was like, I need to know by Monday if you want to move. And my rule was I needed to be like an hour from an airport max, just so I could get back and forth easily. And we came down on a Friday. We looked at a bunch of houses. I said, I could live here. And that's how we made that giant leap. I was like, seems reasonable. Let's do it. And since then, we're done. Like, we found our house a few months later. I am never moving. I love it here. I love my home. I love our neighbors. I love our friends. I love my job. So this is it for us. I mean, he
Wow.
says, we'll one day when we retire, we'll, have another place to
Mm.
hang out, but he understands we're never moving from.
Yeah. No, that's so cool. I feel like that's a very similar story to a lot of people here in Flagler. I know, like, I want to say a good maybe 40% of the people who have come on the podcast did, like, we just came to Flagler one day to visit and check it out, and then we never left. We've just been
Right.
here. So it's super cool. I think there's just something about Flagler and Palm Coast and this area that people are just, like, when you're here, if that kind of makes sense, and people just are really attracted to that. So it's really cool to hear. Well, it's kind of funny you mentioned you kind of jumped into moving into Flagler because it's pretty similar to what you explained to me on how you started your practice. Do you want to tell us a little bit on starting that?
Sure. So like I said, when I first came down here, I had this travel job and I would fly around. So I also had, I have two children, and my little one, or my older one, was starting VPK. And we had someone reach out to me and ask, can you help with a family law case? And I said, no, I have a full-time job and I travel and I'm gone Monday, sometimes Tuesday and Wednesday. Also, this is not my field of practice. I can't. Um, and my now best friend, Hillary, her son and my son were in the same VPK class and they're very close. And she said, well, I was a family law paralegal for 8 years before I had my son. I would love to help you on this. If you'll do it, I'll do it with you. I'll do a lot of the legwork if you'll appear. And I said, okay, so we talked to the person. I said, look, this is the deal. Um, we just can't have court on the day I'm not available. But we're going to help you out. And we did, and we had such a good time doing it. And she said, I'm a stay-at-home mom. We had a lot of fun. Do you want to do more? I was like, well, as long as it doesn't interfere with my actual travel job, I don't see why we can't. We can help people. And so we started taking a few cases here and there just by referrals. Only it was, oh, I heard you help this person. Can you help me? And we were, I mean, basically pro bono at the time. And we were just having a really good time. We like working together. It's infinitely easier when you are working with your best friend. And I mean, we call it hanging out, when we work. Like, what time are we hanging out tomorrow? Um, So anyway, so it started the ball rolling, and then kind of like most of the country, March 18th of 2020 was the last time for my travel job. Um, Obviously COVID ended travel. And at that point, we were still, I mean, only taking a handful of cases, throughout the year, but it had grown a little bit. Um, but I kind of turned to Hillary and I was like, hey, um, my job ended. I think we could probably grow this into something much larger. Are you on board for doing this more? And she absolutely was. She's like, let's do it. So our entire practice has just built up based on this friendship of two people who want to hang out and practice law. And as it turned out, we have a phenomenal group of clientele who come and they put their trust in us and we get them, pretty good results, I think. I mean, they've been amazing. Based on, I can just say based on the reviews that they've given us, I'm confident that they're all content. Um, And since then, Andrea has joined us. She's another attorney. And then another friend, Brooke, joined us recently. And it's amazing. Like the day before, we're like, all right, what time are we gonna come? Hang out. We do it all, it's all remote. So we don't have brick and mortar. They all kind of come together when we're all able to. And then if not, we work from our homes, but it's nice because we're doing, I think, family law it's extremely tough. And for the most part, that's my basis. I do most of the family law. And at the end of the day, we're still helping people and it feels pretty good, but we all do it together and we get to hang out as friends and we do everything together. Kids are best friends and we all go to Disney together and we go to birthday parties together and, our kids do everything with each other. So I'm extremely blessed to be in this position.
Oh, that's so great to hear, especially because I know that there's a very common, misconception of like when it comes to business, don't mix pleasure and business together. But it sounds like you guys have a good routine, a good rhythm, and it works well. So, I mean, especially like I was saying, like it's such a delicate field, in my opinion, of that entire stratosphere. You want to make sure you're really treating everyone with care and grace and empathy, and you want to make sure you're comfortable with the partners you're doing it with.
We couldn't do it if our dynamic wasn't the way it was, I would not have stayed in this. I mean, none of us would. It's nice when you can just, I mean, we call and talk about cases at night or on the weekends or
Mm.
on lines at Disney. And, we just have a really good dynamic with each other. We can
Hmm.
talk about all of our cases at all times and hang out and just be us, but it's us all the time.
Yeah, that's so awesome to hear. Well, I have a quick question, and I realized I didn't tell you this specifically that I was going to ask this, but I think it's kind of fun because there's a lot of lawyers depicted on TV. So I'm just curious. I've asked a few lawyers on before on the podcast as well. They all had different answers. So I'm just curious, like, what are some of your thoughts? Like, are there any like misconceptions now that are really popular people ask you about because they saw it on a TV show? Are there any that are accurate or not accurate? Like, what are your thoughts of how lawyers are depicted on TV?
We have actually put in emails, this is not television. This is real life
I
because
believe
they do things, it's exhausting. Like they'll do things all the time. I'm like, no, we don't do that here. I mean, just for instance, there's no in family law, there's not a jury trial. Like
Mm,
you will never see a jury in a courtroom, and we get that a
yeah.
lot. They'll side for me. I'm like, that's not a thing. That's never gonna happen. Nope.
Yeah, I think
So a
that's
lot of it
something
is
I've
confusing.
learned too, is obviously the only lie I obviously know of is the stuff I watch on TV. But then I realized, I was like, wait, I don't know how I figured it out, but I was like, no, I think juries are only specific things. It's like, I don't know if it's all of these things. I feel like some of these things are lying to me. You can't
Right? And
ever trust.
I'm far and very unlikely. despite seeing it on TV at least twice a week, there's not a surprise witness that come and saves the day, or, this magical piece of evidence that appears that no
Right.
one knew about for the last year. That doesn't really, that's
I mean,
not
that
gonna,
would make sense. Like, I can't imagine. I like it was just a few weeks ago, I was watching a TV and they were having like everything was orchestrated by like a city councilwoman. And like that's how they got like this license revoked and this license revoked. And that's why they moved the jury date. And I was like, I just don't think they have enough power. I just don't know if this would happen. I'm a little confused here. But I'm like, yeah, it's just TV. None of it's real anyway. So that was just because I think I
right.
told you my favorite movie of all time is Legally Blonde. Um,
Yes. I mean, I think everybody loves that one.
it's so good. I'm sorry. Like I'll really take her legal jargon in my everyday conversations as well. Well, so you love being here in Flagler County. It sounds like you and your family and your friends do a lot in the community. What would you recommend for any newbies or anyone who maybe just hasn't explored a lot of Flagler? What should we do? Any groups to join? Just ways to get interactive with the community.
Sure. So it's a little tricky, obviously, if you do have kids, if you don't have
Mm-hmm.
kids. Um, my parents and my mother-in-law recently moved here, and we're always telling them, like, this community center has 1,000 things going on, you just got to read. But I can't say, I think I've only been to like one of those, but I have kids. So, I'm very familiar with Holland Park. We call it Zipline Park. We go there a lot, and we live on top of the beach.
Mm.
We were just having this conversation. I was in New Jersey this weekend, and one of my friends was moving further west into New Jersey, and I said to someone, like, why would they move so far from the beach? Like, what's the point? Which of course rocks, knocks out most of the country. I'm like, oh, well, if you're not living by the beach, why are you living there? But yeah, we live on top of this paradise,
Right.
you know, take advantage because most
Hmm.
most people don't have that. Um, as far as like networking, or if you have a business, obviously, you and I met through BNI, and that's a really good resource for anybody. And then last week, we just started a network and noshing group. So that other people who might not be able to join BNI,
Hmm.
or are part of another group, or just want to meet people that aren't in all the same groups, because a lot of people are in a lot of the same.
Sure.
Um, there's no cost involved. We just kind of showed up at Loopers by the golf course,
Okay.
off Palm Harbor, and we just had lunch, and we met a bunch of people we hadn't known, and we're just going to do that every other Thursday and see how it plays out. But I think there's a lot of things that you can find to
Mm.
meet other people. Um, I recently went to, after all these years, we moved here in 2013, and I just went to my first trivia night. I'm making progress. But I mean, even things like that, there's a ton of them in town.
Hmm.
So I think there's a lot to do if you're looking.
Definitely. Well, that's super cool to hear about your group. So I'll make sure I have all of Stacy's information and any information she has on any of these groups in the description. People can click, copy and paste, check it all out a little bit easier. So Stacy, thank you so much for the time today. This was really fun for me, and I got to ask my nerdy questions. So I'm super pleased, and I had a great time. So I appreciate you coming on and sharing a few minutes with me.
Oh, I appreciate you asking me to. I had fun. Thank you.
Of course. And everyone watching, I really appreciate you as well, and I'll see you next time. Bye.